What the Future Holds, Part 2. Welcome to our video. And in the last days, fools shall call evil good, and good evil. Let's start off with Miley Cyrus. As we all know, she's doing it for Jesus. Whatever she does, I'm sure Jesus would rather she didn't. Because soon there will come a time when a holy king, Jesus Christ, will say, "Depart, for I never knew you." Katy Perry, rebellious daughter of Christian missionary parents. She openly mocks God, Christianity, and Christians that choose to live a moral life. Her most famous, if you can call it that, song of all time is "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It." At the end of her performance of that song on the American Music Awards, she finished it by kissing none other than Madonna. She's just one of many in entertainment today that grew up around Christian parents who are Christians or claim to be Christians, who go out of their way to be revoltingly amoral as possible. Americans used to take pride in serving God and helping their fellow man. Now they stand for everything God is against. And like the young gentleman on the left with his cocked fist, they are now assaulting pastors while preaching in city parks because they can't handle hearing legitimate Christian alternatives to their LGBT lifestyle. This particular beast in the image on the left has been arrested for assault on a number of occasions. This wasn't his first. Why, you ask, did this young man assault the poor innocent pastor? Well, he was incited to assault the pastor when the pastor turned his back. Then, of course, for some reason, he was enticed to run up behind the pastor when the pastor's back was turned and pummel him in the back of the head until he fell to the ground, where he and a number of other onlookers stomped, kicked, beat, practically killing this young pastor until even the own LGBT community members that were standing or sitting by finally had to get involved and pull this pig off of the pastor, while others were calling 911. And they call us militant haters, folks. Haven't never assaulted a homosexual or a lesbian. I've never wanted to assault a homosexual or lesbian. I have befriended many of them because I found them interesting human beings. Or I took pity on them because they were so sad. But I've never once nearly killed one of them. Illinois school district made it in the news recently because they were being harassed by the White House. School district officials in an Illinois school district received stern warnings from the Federal Department of Education through the White House because they refused to allow a teenage boy into the girls' locker room and showers simply because he dressed like a girl. The boy never even stated he was going through the surgery to become a transgender. He just wanted into the girls' locker room, apparently. The federal government is attempting to use a little-known educational department ruling from the 70s, which outlaws girls from being harassed or prevented from participating in team sports just because they're girls. They're using this totally absurd, unrelated ruling to force girls to use the same bathroom as boys who proclaim to be going through the preparation process of becoming a transgender. Many lawsuits have been filed by Christian families because their daughters have been harassed by many of the transgender boys and boys pretending to be transgender. And they've been harassed and threatened by the school district and removed from sporting teams or extracurricular activities after speaking out against having young boys in a bathroom simply because they decided to wear girls' clothing. Illinois school district harassed by the White House, Part 2. This phenomenon of forcing girls to deal with boys in their bathroom is occurring all across the country. The first incident was in California. There's a surprise, huh? Then Colorado. And then it spread across the nation like a plague. The sadly ironic thing that the liberal press avoids talking about as if it would spread a worldwide plague by its very mentioning? The very same liberal groups of women that burned their bras in the 60s for women's rights to vote and women's rights to work at the same jobs for the same pay as men. Rights we all agree with. Then in the 70s, they stood up for their rights to kill innocent babies within their rooms because they didn't want the responsibility of caring for a child after the continuous acts of irresponsible sex run rampant. They are now working to steal the rights of young girls to have an expectancy of privacy and safety in their own high school locker rooms, all over the nation through the militant LGBT and feminist community. Does no one else see the sad irony in that? Shakespeare, several hundred years ago, waxed eloquently, "A rose by any other name would ne'er smell so sweet." Several hundred years later today, I say perversion by any name is a stench to the nose of an almighty and holy God. Paraphilias are sexual interests in objects, situations, or individuals that are atypical. It's known as perversion, folks. The American Psychiatric Association, in its Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the 5th edition, draws a distinction between paraphilias, which it describes as atypical sexual interests, and paraphilic disorders, which additionally require the experience of distress or impairment in functioning. So there's two types of perverts. One who's just atypical, that they can't figure out why he does or she does what they do. And then the other one, they are being given the excuse of experiencing distress or impairment in one form or another. Some paraphilias have more than one term to describe them. They're so perverted and unnatural. Some terms overlap with others. Paraphilias without DSM codes listed under DSM 302.9, paraphilia NOS, not otherwise specified. We have unspecified perverts out there running around doing disgusting things to children and women. And they're given excuses by the American Psychiatric Association. Recently viewed a list that wasn't even an exhaustive list of paraphilias. In an interest of time, I stopped counting at 100. There are politicians brave enough to warn us about those from the militant arm of the LGBTB community, who now that they have won the battle in legalizing gay marriage are fighting to win the next battle for the rights of pedophiles and those participating in bestiality. Many of us have spoken out about the possibilities of this happening for over 2 decades. No one believed us back then. Thought they were weird psycho nutjob Christians that hate the world. But then again, no one thought that America, a country founded on Christian principles, would ever legalize gay marriage either. Let's meet the paraphiliac of the day. Babylonia Alves. Beautiful young bride, don't you think? In the image to the right, you'd probably be left wondering, like I was initially, where's her groom? Where's the person she married? Well, guess what? She didn't marry a person. Her groom is behind her. In gray. The building. That's right, folks. Somehow, she got licensed to marry a building. And then there was Nathaniel and Chase. Folks, Nathaniel and Chase spoke of their love for each other while making an appearance on the reality TV show My Strange Addictions. The show ended with the image of Nathaniel kissing his lady love, showing us the position that he took when he had sex with his lady love. Just who is his controversial lady love that he hopes to marry and make respectable someday? His car chase. Then there's Miss Erica Latour. This young woman's sole claim to fame is getting married. Well, what's so bad about getting married, you say? You're a Christian. Why would you be against somebody getting married? Well, meet her new husband. The Eiffel Tower. Vive la France and perversion. Pedophiles want their turn at legalization and your children. In fact, an Austin, Texas city councilman, straight from the Bible Belt, Don Zimmerman, is using pedophilia in a comparison for gay marriage or for taking advantage of children. In his comments to the blogger, he says, Matt, replace pedophile. Then explain how you can justify denying marriage happiness to a couple in love based on age discrimination. In fact, there is no such thing as pedophilia, only intergenerational love. Explain why you are a pedophobe and why you're opposed to love and equal rights. Who gives you the right to pass judgment against those you disagree with? Excuse me, Mr. Zimmerman, while I go barf somewhere. What the hell? Equal rights to molest and rape children? Pedophobe? Yeah, I'm afraid of pedophiles. I can't even say the name right, I'm so afraid. I'm afraid for the children. I'm not afraid for me, because I would take you out in a heartbeat. But I am afraid for the children. What the hell is this intergenerational love crap? You can't tell me that a child who can't even vote yet can make decisions to love someone or get married. They don't even understand what love or sex is. They weren't designed to know what love or sex is at 4 or 5 or 6 or even 13 years of age. If this wasn't so seriously vile and disgusting, I'd almost laugh. Well, try this on for size, Mr. Zimmerman. The U.S. Constitution and the First Amendment and God Almighty himself say that I have the right to speak the truth, whether you like it or not. Let's turn the rhetoric back on you, Mr. Zimmerman. What gives you the right to speak your sick psychotic BS about your equal rights to molest children and rape them? God's law and the will of the majority of Americans say that what you and your fellow perverts do is wrong. So that would decry equal rights and logically conclude that what you really want are special rights to change the laws and do something that God and the majority of Americans agree is evil, vile, and disgusting. There is a special place in hell for people like you, Mr. Zimmerman. Studies show that the only reason why young children ever consent, which is a misnomer to begin with, is because people like you stalk them and fill their immature heads full of BS about true love, and no one will ever love them like you do. And once you've drawn them in with your lives, then you pounce and you never let go. It's called statutory rape for a reason, because it's been proven scientifically that people under the age of 22 can't make fully mature, rational decisions in their best interests. One day, you, Mr. Zimmerman, and all the others like you will meet Almighty God himself. Try arguing your way out of hell when the righteous judge of the universe calls your account due. Well, certainly not breaking news, but important nonetheless. Although I would consider it's probably breaking news to those ignorant Americans who rely solely on mainstream media and the press for their news coverage. Wonder why we've never seen this on NBC or CBS or ABC or MSN. Tom DeLay, not one of the most conservative American politicians, but still, he's got enough guts to admit that the Department of Justice wants to legalize both bestiality and pedophilia. This report came out almost 3 years ago. Why are we finding out things like this from small little itty-bitty newspapers that nobody's ever heard of before, farther away than their own hometown, like the National Sun-Times? Why aren't we hearing about this from major news outlets? Why are they hiding behind these people? Why are they supporting these people through their silence? That's what I would like to know. And then thank goodness we have doctors like Miriam Grossman who's written a series of books. Started off with Unprotected, a campus psychiatrist reveals how political correctness in her profession endangers every student. And then she finally got brave, put her name on the book, and then wrote a second one, You're Teaching My Child What? In this book, we discover, through her investigations, that American educators are teaching children as young as 5 years old about interesting sexual topics such as fisting, anal sex, homosexuality, lesbianism, handcuffing. I know adults, including myself, that would blush at those subjects. Why the hell is the American educational system teaching our 5-year-old children such garbage? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. The former head of the U.S. Department of Education, and now his new constituent that replaced him, believe that it's in the best interest of all children, at the earliest age possible, young boys should have sex with their mother. Young girls should have sex with their father at the earliest age possible to learn in a loving environment about sex. And we wonder why they're teaching our children crap. We wonder why America is going the direction that it's in. We wonder why 1 out of every 3 teenage American girls is pregnant before the age of 17. It's a sickening statistic. Yes, there have been these 2 studies and other groundbreaking work on what sex does to children and teens, aside from the obvious. Hooked is one such book, describing how the earlier children have sex, the more likely they are to become addicted to normal and abnormal sexual practices. In his groundbreaking work, Shad Homestetter, PhD, wrote in his book, The Power of Neuroplasticity, irrefutable scientific evidence that what we tell ourselves about ourselves on a moment-by-moment and daily basis affects our future, and our future will actually change the brain structure and how it works. Medical case studies observing patients with brain damage from strokes or auto accidents and live MRI observation down to the brain cell while undergoing certain repetitious activities can cause healing down to the neuron and synapse level. This has been observed live in MRIs while synapses either heal or grow new pathways, increasing the patient's mental and cognitive capacity. Imagine then, if you will, what the opposite of positive affirmation and parental love will do to the brain structure of an informative, moldable brain of a teenage girl or boy. Some pedophilic stalker, or stalker of the same age, of young males or females, always putting them into a repetitious situation of sexual brainwashing. Imagine the harm when a teenage boy tells a teenage girl frequently that all they're valued for is sex. Imagine the empty, hopeless void that is created in a young girl's brain. Imagine the harm when a progressive educator tells an innocent 5-year-old that it's okay for her to practice in fisting or sadomasochistic rituals if it makes her lover feel good. A 5-year-old shouldn't have a lover. Many adults don't know what fisting is. 5-year-old females should most definitely not know what it is, and any educator that teaches it to them is following the predatory path of setting the child up for exploratory sexual behavior that should not be explored by a 5-year-old female or male. Their brain is not wired for such things at that age. Their brain is wired to trust adults, to protect them, teach them, and serve them. Christians in politics. There are those who foolishly and ignorantly claim that Christians should not be involved in politics. Some say it is because they don't want Christians to get in the way of their agenda to let evil reign supreme. Some say that because they think Christians shouldn't tinker with the things of Satan. But the reality is, because of those ignorant Christians, we now have the political nightmare that we now have in America. Shame on you. Say what? So who is this new Woman of the Year award recipient? Rising to the limelight meteorically. Is it Bruce Jenner's sister? Kind of looks like him. Just who is Caitlyn Jenner? Has to be Bruce's sister, right? Where's she been hiding all these years? Starting to get the picture here, folks. The man born as Bruce Jenner, a man I remember watching proudly in the Olympics when I was younger. He was known as the world's best athlete of all time. America was proud of him. The man that God gave great gifts and abundant abilities to far and above outperform any other male athlete of his time. He has turned his back on what God blessed and graced him with. Fairly recently, he had the transgender operation, and now he wants to be called Caitlyn. Hard-working women everywhere through all time should be outraged and disgusted at this perverse travesty of Glamour magazine calling this man Woman of the Year. He is so sinful and weak that after just a year of being Caitlyn, he's whining about the difficulties of being a woman and expressing a desire already to switch back. My mother, who is 90, has helped raise 4 boys into manhood, has been an overcomer of breast cancer for over 50 years. She has done her best with God's grace and her own inner strength to put up with the pitfalls of femininity. I am offended and disgusted on her behalf with society's positive reaffirmation of this man's choices. Yes, I said a man, folks. He was born a man with a penis, not a vagina. No matter what sort of surgeries you have, no matter what parts of your body you remove, or no matter what happy, joy thoughts and psychotherapy you have, nothing will change that he's still a man. Now, people like Marie Curie in 1933, she discovered polonium and radium and founded the concept of radiology. Women like her really truly were Women of the Year. Time is running down for this age of grace, folks. In his groundbreaking and national best-selling book, The Mystery of the Shemitah, Pastor Jonathan Cahn states on page 252, "There's a warning and an encouragement. God's word can either be a warning of judgment or a blessing or both. The only day we have is today. The only moment we have is now. The time is late and fleeting. Whatever is not right in your life, whatever is not of God or His will, now is the time to rule it out of your life. Whatever God is calling you to do or be, now is the time to do it, or be it, and to rule it into your life. The sound of an alarm cannot by nature be pleasant. It just can't be. Otherwise, it wouldn't serve its purpose to awaken and to warn. The harbinger and the mystery of the Shemitah are not only the revealing of mysteries, but also the loud sounding of alarms to America and the rest of the world." Rabbi Cahn goes on to say, "Whenever I've been tempted to rest from sounding the alarm," I'm sure this poor man goes through numerous satanic attacks from people that are ignorant. He says, I'm reminded of God's words to Ezekiel. If the watchman sees the danger coming and does not sound the trumpet to warn the people when the calamity comes, their blood will be on his head. So I sound the trumpet. In agreement to time is indeed running down for this age of grace. The alarms have gone off, the trumpets have sounded, the call has gone forth. One is left with a choice to respond or not respond. The harbinger closes with one final call, the last words of the prophet. I leave the one reading this with the same words. Let those who have ears to hear it, let them hear it and be saved. We welcome you to return to view what the future holds, Part 3.